All right. So, welcome back as we're reading the Law of Attraction, and we are starting on page 45. And Anna, you're going to go first. So, go ahead.
Yes. How do I best utilize the law of attraction? Jerry, are there many different ways that we can consciously or deliberately use this law of attraction? Abraham, you will begin by saying you are always utilizing it, whether you know that you are or not. You cannot stop using it, for it's inherent in everything you do. But we appreciate your question, for you want to understand how to deliberately use it for the achievement of that which you intentionally desire. Being aware that the law of attraction exists is the most important part of utilizing it deliberately. Since the law of attraction is always responding to your thoughts, a deliberate focusing of your thought is important. Choose objects that are of interest to you and think about them in a way that benefits you. In other words, look for the positive aspects of the subjects that are important to you. As you choose a thought, the law of attraction will act upon it, attracting more thoughts like it and thus making that thought more powerful. By staying focused on a subject of your choosing, your point of attraction on that topic will become much more powerful than if your mind moves from one subject to the next. There is tremendous power in focusing. As you make deliberate choices about the thoughts you think, the things you do, and even the people you spend time with, you will feel the benefit of the law of attraction. When you spend time with others who appreciate you, it stimulates your own thoughts of appreciation. When you spend time with those who see your flaws, then their perception of your flaws often becomes your point of attraction. As you come to realize that whatever you are giving your attention to is getting larger, because the law of attraction says that it must, you may become more particular about those things that you give your initial attention to. It is much easier to change the direction of your thought in the early stages of the thought before the thought has gathered much momentum, but it is possible to change the direction of your thought at any time. Can I instantly reverse my creative momentum? Jerry, let's say there are those who already have something going on from their previous thoughts, and now they decide that they want to suddenly change the direction of their creation. Isn't there a momentum factor? Don't they have to first slow down what's already in the process of being created, or can they instantly create in a different direction? Abraham, there is a momentum factor caused by the law of attraction. The law of attraction says that which is like unto itself is drawn. So whatever thought you have activated by your attention to it is getting bigger. But we want you to realize that the gathering of momentum is a gradual thing. And so rather than trying to turn that thought around, consider focusing upon another thought. Let us say you have been thinking about something that you do not want, and you've been doing that for a while. So you have a rather strong negative momentum going. It would not be possible for you to suddenly begin thinking the opposite thought. In fact, from where you are standing, you would not even have access to those kinds of thoughts. But you could choose a thought that feels slightly better than the thoughts you have been thinking, and then another, until gradually you could change the direction of your thoughts. Another effective process for changing the direction of your thoughts is to change a subject altogether, deliberately looking for the positive aspect of something. If you are able to do that, and if you are willing to try to stay focused upon that better feeling thought for a while, then since the law of attraction is now responding to that thought, the balance of your thoughts is now improved. Now, when you go back to revisit your previous negative thoughts, since you are now in a different mode of vibration, that thought will be slightly affected by your vibrational improvement. Little by little, you will improve the vibrational content of the subject that you choose to think about, and as that happens, everything in your life begins to shift in a more positive direction. How can a person overcome disappointment? Jerry, for the individual who is trying to make a severe switch in the positive direction of their prosperity or of their health, if they already have a momentum factor going the other way, how much faith or belief would it require for them to overcome their disappointment and say, well, I know this is going to work out for me, even though it hasn't worked yet? Abraham, you see, from your point of disappointment, you're attracting more to be disappointed about. An understanding of the process of creation is really the best way. That is the value of the creative workshop, of getting happy and then going to a place where you see it as you're wanting it to be, seeing it until you are believing it so clearly that it is already bringing forth emotion. And from that state of being, you will attract it as you want it to be. Disappointment is communication from your inner being, letting you know that which you are focused upon is not what you want. If you are sensitive to the way you are feeling, then the disappointment itself will let you know that what you are thinking about is not what you want to experience. What causes worldwide waves of unwanted events? Jerry, over the years, I've seen TV newscast, or whatever that report the hijacking of an airplane or a terrorist act or a severe cause of child abuse or a mass murder or something negative like that. And then I'll see an almost a worldwide wave of those events beginning to occur. Is that brought on by the same process? Abraham. Attention to any subject amplifies it because attention to the subject activates the vibration of it, and the law of attraction responds to the activated vibration. Those who may be planning the hijacking of an airplane are adding power to that thought, but those who are frightened by the prospect of a hijacking are also adding power to the thought. For you add power to those things you do not want through your attention to them. Those who have a clear intent to not draw any sort of negative information into their experience are probably not watching the broadcast to begin with, you see. Pass. So good.
There are so many different intentions and combinations of intentions that it's very difficult for us to point out, in general, how one could bring it about. Certainly, these newscasts add to the situations, for as more and more people are focused upon them, or focused upon what they are not wanting, they're adding to the creation of what they do not want. Their emotional power is adding great influence to the overall events of your world. That is what mass consciousness is about. Can attention to medical procedures attract more? Currently there is a wide range of televised surgery going on. Do you see that sort of thing as increasing the amount of surgery that it will actually occur per capita? In other words, when individuals observe a televised medical procedure, can they automatically become more in the vibrational match of the essence of the medical procedures? Abraham, when you give your attention to something, your potential for attracting it is increased. The more vivid the details, the more attention you give it, and the more you are likely to attract that into your experience. And any negative emotion that you feel as you watch the thing is your indication that you are negatively attracting. Of course, the illness does not come upon you immediately, so you often do not make the correlation between your thoughts and your subsequent negative emotion and the resulting illness, but they are absolutely linked together. Your attention is anything is drawing it closer to you. Fortunately, because of the buffer of time, your thoughts do not become reality instantaneously. So you have an ample opportunity to evaluate the direction of your thought by the way you're feeling, and to change the direction of your thought whenever you find yourself feeling negative emotion. The steady offering of details of illness is very influential in increasing of sickness in your society. If you allow yourself to focus upon the constant barrage of unpleasant statistics regarding the never-ending stream of possible physical maladies, it cannot help but affect your personal point of attraction. You might instead find a way of focusing your attention on the things that you do want to draw into your experience. For whatever you're constantly looking at, you are attracting. The more you think about illness and worry about illness, the more you attract illness. Should I seek a cause of my negative emotions? Such a good question. Jerry, suppose you use the creating workshop process of focusing on things you want, but then later, if you are out of the workshop and you feel a negative emotion, would you suggest trying to find what that thought caused the negative emotion? Or would you suggest just thinking of one of the things you'd be thinking about in your workshop that you want? Abraham, the power of the creative workshop process is the more attention you give a subject, the more powerful it becomes, the easier it is to think about it, and the more it begins to appear in your experience. Whenever you're aware that you are feeling a negative emotion, it is important to understand that while you may not be aware of it, you are conducting a negative workshop. Whenever you catch yourself feeling a negative emotion, we suggest that you try to gently pull your thoughts around to something that you do want to experience. And little by little, you change your habit of thought regarding those things. Whenever you're able to identify something that you do not want, you can always try to identify what it is you do want. And as you do that again and again, your pattern of thought on every subject that is important to you will shift more into the direction of what you do want. In other words, you will gradually build bridges from the current beliefs that are about things that you do not want to the beliefs about the things you do want. An example of bridging an unwanted belief. Jerry, can you provide an example of what you mean by bridging a belief? Abraham, your emotional guidance system works best when you're setting forth continual, deliberate intentions of what you desire. So let us say you have intended in your workshop perfect health. You visualize yourself as healthy, vital being. And now you are moving through your day. And while having lunch, you are sitting with a friend who is discussing her own illness. As she speaks about her illness, you find yourself feeling very uncomfortable and uneasy in the conversation. Now, what is happening? Your guidance system is indicating to you that what you are hearing is that what you are thinking, and that what your friend is speaking is not in harmony with your intent. And then you make a very clear decision to stop this conversation from going any further in the direction of the illness. And so you attempt to change the subject, but your friend is very excited and emotionally drawn to the topic, and she brings the conversation back to her illness. Again, your guidance system warning bells begin to ring. The reason why you're feeling negative emotion is not only because of your friend is talking about something that you do not want. Your negative emotion is an indication that you hold beliefs that are contrary to that of your own desire. Your friend's conversation merely activated beliefs within you that challenge your desire or wellness. So, walking away from your friend and from the conversation will not change those beliefs. It is necessary that you start right where you are in the midst of that belief and move it gradually, building a bridge, so to speak, to a belief that is more in harmony with the desire of wellness.
It's Nikki's turn.
Beautiful.
I remember not.
It is helpful whenever you feel negative emotion to stop and acknowledge what you were thinking about when the negative emotion surfaced. Whenever you feel negative emotion, it is always telling you that whatever you are thinking about is important and that you are thinking about the opposite of what you really desire. So questions such as, what was I thinking about when this negative emotion surfaced? And what is it that I do want regarding this? Will help you realize that you are, in this moment, focused in direct opposition to what you really do want to attract into your experience. For example, what was I thinking about when this negative emotion surfaced? I was thinking about this being the flu season, and I was remembering how very sick I have been in the past with the flu. Not only did I miss work and many other things that I wanted to do, but I felt miserable for so many days. What is it that I do want? I want to remain healthy this year. But merely saying, I want to remain healthy, is usually not sufficient under these conditions because your memory of having the flu and therefore your belief about the probability of getting the flu are much stronger than your desire to remain well. We would attempt, apologize. Okay, we would attempt to bridge our belief in this way. This is usually the time of year that I get the flu. I don't want to get the flu this year. I hope I don't get the flu this year. It seems like everyone gets it. That may be an exaggeration. Everyone doesn't get the flu. In fact, there have been many flu seasons when I didn't get the flu. I don't always get the flu. It's possible that this flu season could come and go without touching me at all. I like the idea of being healthy. Those past flu experiences came before I realized that I can control, those past flu experiences came before I realized that I can control my experience. Now that I understand the power of my own thoughts, things have changed. Now that I understand the power of the law of attraction, things have changed. It isn't necessary for me to experience the flu this year. It isn't necessary for me to experience anything that I don't want. It's possible for me to direct my thoughts towards things I do want to experience. I like the idea of guiding my life to things that I do want to experience. Now you have bridged the belief. If the negative thoughts return, and it may continue to do so for a while, just guide your thoughts more deliberately, and eventually it will not come up again. Are my thoughts in my dreams creating? Jerry, I would like to understand the dream world. Are we creating in our dreams? Are we attracting anything through the thoughts that we're having or experiencing in our dreams? Abraham, You are not. While you sleep, you have withdrawn your consciousness from your physical time-space reality, and you are temporarily not attracting while you are sleeping. Side note for Nikki, thank goodness. Let's just say. Uh, for the most part anyway. Whatever you are thinking and therefore feeling, and that which you are attracting is always a match. Also, what you are thinking and feeling in the dream state and what is manifesting in your life experience is always a match. Your dreams give you a glimpse into what you have created or what you are in the process of creating, but you are not in the process of creating while you are dreaming. Often you are unaware of the pattern of your thoughts until they actually manifest in your experience because you have developed your habit of thought gradually over a long period of time. And while it is possible, even after something unwanted has manifested, to focus and change it to something you do want, it is more difficult to do that after it has manifested. An understanding of what your dream state really is can help you recognize the direction of your thoughts before they actually materialize in your experience. It is much easier to correct the direction of your thoughts when you dream is your indication that, hold on, I'm going to start that one over again. It is much easier to correct the direction of your thoughts when your dream is your indication that it is when a real life manifestation is your indication. Must I take their good and their bad? Jerry, to what degree are we a part of what someone whom we're associated with has attracted, wanted or unwanted? In other words, how much does another person whom we are associated with bring into our life what they've attracted, the things that we want or the things that we don't want? Abraham, nothing can come into your life without your attention to it. Most people, however, are not very selective about the aspects of others to which they give their attention. In other words, if you notice everything about someone else, then you are inviting all of those aspects into your experience. If you give your attention only to the things that you like most about them, you will invite into your experience only those things. If someone is in your life, you have attracted them. And while it is sometimes difficult to believe, you also attract everything about your experience with them. For nothing can come into your experience without your personal attraction of it. Should I resist not evil? Jerry, so we don't really need to repel any negative. We only have to attract what we want. Abraham, it is not possible to push things that you do not want away from you, because in your pushing against them, you are actually activating the vibration of them and therefore attracting them. Everything in this universe is attraction based. In other words, there is no such thing as exclusion. When you shout no at those things you do not want, you are actually inviting those unwanted things into your experience. When you shout yes at those things you do want, you're actually inviting those wanted things into your experience. Jerry. Jerry, that's where they say resist ye not evil probably came from. Abraham, if you are resisting anything, you are focused upon it, pushing against it and activating the vibration of it and therefore attracting it. And so it would not be a good idea to do that with anything that you do not want. Resist ye not evil would also be spoken by someone wise enough to understand that what humans call evil does not exist. Jerry, Abraham, what would be your definition of the word evil? Abraham, there would be no reason for the word evil to be in our vocabulary because there is nothing that we are aware of that we would label with the word. When humans use the word, they usually mean that which opposes good. We have noticed that when humans use the word evil, they mean something that opposes their idea of what is good or what is God. Evil is that which one believes is not in harmony with what they want.
Rosie.
Okay.
Jerry, any good and good? Abraham, good is that which one believes they do want. You see, good and evil are only ways of defining wanted and unwanted. And wanted and unwanted only apply to the individual doing the wanting. It gets tricky when humans get involved in the wanting of others, and even trickier when they attempt to control the desires of others. How do I find out what I really want? Jerry, one of the most common concerns I've heard over the years is people saying, well, I just don't know what I want. How do we know what we want? Abraham, you have come forth into this physical life experience with the intention of experiencing the variety and contrast for the very purpose of determining your own personal preferences and desires. Jerry, Could you give us an idea of a process we could use to find out what we want? Abraham, your life experience is continually helping you identify what you want. Even as you are keenly aware of something that you do not want, in that moment you are becoming more clear about that which you do want. And it is helpful to make the statement, I want to know what I want, because in your conscious awareness of that intention, the attraction process is intensified. Jerry, so the person who is telling me, I want to know what I want, is at that moment beginning to find out what they want. Abraham, through the experience of life, you cannot help but identify from your perspective, your personal opinions and preferences. I prefer that to this. I like this, that more than this. I want to experience this. I don't want to experience that. You cannot help but come to your own conclusions as you sift through the details of your own life experience. We do not believe that people are having such a difficult time deciding what they want as much as they do not believe that they can receive what they want, because they have not understood the power of the law of attraction. And because they have not been consciously aware of their own vibrational offering, they have not experienced any conscious control over the things that have come into their own experience. Many have experienced the discomfort of really wanting something and working very hard to try to achieve it, only to continue to hold it away because they're offering thoughts of lack of more predominantly than the thoughts of receiving it. So, over time, they begin to associate the receiving of wanted things with hard work, struggle, and disappointment. So when they say, I don't know what I want, what they really mean is, I don't know how to get what I want, or I'm not willing to do what I think I need to do to try to get what I want. And I really don't want to work so hard again, only to have the discomfort of still not getting what I want. To make the statement, I want to know what I want, is a first and powerful step in deliberate creation. But then, a deliberate directing of your attention to the things that you want to attract into your experience must come next. Most people have not been deliberately directing their thoughts towards the things that they really want, but they instead are simply observing whatever is going on around them. So when they see something that pleases them, they feel a, they feel positive emotion. But when they see something that displeases them, they feel negative emotion. Few realize that they can control the way that they feel positively and affect the things that come into their life experience by deliberately directing their thoughts. But because they are not accustomed to doing that, it takes practice. That is the reason why we encourage the creative workshop process. By deliberately directing your thoughts and by creating pleasing mental scenarios in your own mind that induce good feeling emotions within you, you begin to change your own point of attraction. The universe, which is responding to the thoughts that you are thinking, doesn't distinguish between a thought brought by your observation of some reality you have witnessed, and a thought brought by your imagination. In either case, the thought equals your point of attraction. And if you focus upon it long enough, it will become your reality. I want a blue and yellow, but not green. I wanted blue and yellow, but not green. When you're clear about everything you want, you will get all of the results that you want. But often you are not completely clear. You say, for example, I want the color yellow and I want the color blue. But then you end up with this green. And then you say, how did I get green? I didn't intend that at all. But it came forth as a blending of the other intentions you see. Of course, blending the color yellow and the color blue creates the color green. And so, in a similar manner, at an unconscious level, there is a blending of intentions that is continually occurring within you, but it is so complex that your conscious thinking mechanism cannot sort it out. But your inner being can sort it out and can offer you guiding emotions. All that is required is that you pay attention to the way that you feel and you let yourself Be drawn to the things that feel good or right to you while you are letting yourself while you let yourself be moved away from the things that you do not.
That's time. Yeah. Okay.
When you have practiced clarifying your intentions a bit, you will find yourself in the very early stages of interacting with others, knowing whether what they are offering is of value or not. You will know whether you want to invite them into your experience or not. How does the victim attract the robber? Jerry: I can understand robbers being attracted to those they're robbing, but it's difficult to see innocent victims, as they are called, attracting the robbery, or the person being discriminated against attracting the prejudice. Abraham: but they are just the same. The assaulted and the assaulter are co-creators in the event. Jerry: so one of them is thinking about what they don't want and getting it, and the other is thinking about what they do want and getting it, the vibrational essence of that. In other words, they are what you call a vibrational match. Abraham: it makes no difference whether you want the specifics of it or not. It is the vibrational essence of the subject of your attention that is attracted. That which you really, really want, you get. And that which you really, really do not want, you get. The only way to avoid developing a powerful emotional thought about something is by not thinking the first not so powerful thought that is then added to by the law of attraction. Let us say you read in the paper that someone has been robbed. Unless you read a detailed account that brings forth great emotion within you, reading the account or hearing about it will not necessarily put you in the attraction mode. But if you read about it or see it on television or discuss it with another until you begin to feel an emotional response about it, then you begin to draw a similar experience closer to you. As you hear the statistics of what percentage of your population will be robbed this year, you must understand that the numbers are so high and getting higher because so many people are being stimulated by the thought. Those warnings do not protect you from robberies, but instead make you more likely. They do such a good job of making you aware of the prevalence of robberies, bringing that awareness to your attention again and again, that you not only think of it with emotion, but you expect it. It is no wonder that you get so many of the things you do not want. You give so much of your attention to the things you do not want. We would recommend that if you hear of an assault, you say, that is their experience. I do not choose that. And then release the thought of what you do not want and think of what you do want, because you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. You came into this environment with so many others because you wanted the wonderful experience of co-creating. You can attract from your population those people with whom you would like to positively create, and you can attract from the people in your life the experiences you would like to create. It is not necessary or possible to hide from or avoid unwanted people or experiences, but it is possible to attract only the people and experiences that please you. I decided to improve my life. Jerry: I recall that as a kid, I had extremely poor health and my body was very weak. And then as a teenager, I decided to and did build upon my body strength, and I learned how to defend myself. I practiced martial arts and got very good at self-defense. From the time I was a teenager until I was 33 years old, there was seldom a week that went by that I didn't have what we used to call a fist fight, that I didn't hit somebody in the head. Then, in my 33rd year, after reading in the Talmudic anthology about the counterproductivity of taking revenge, I made some major decisions. And one of them was that I was going to stop taking revenge. And since then, I have not had to hit one person. In other words, all those people that I believe were picking on others and starting fights with me from the day that I stopped practicing fighting physically and mentally, those fight-provoking people stopped coming into my experience. Abraham: so in your 33rd year, you changed the direction of your attraction. You see, through the process of living your life and having those fights week in and week out, you were coming to many conclusions about what you wanted and what you did not want. And while you may not have been consciously aware with every fight you experienced, you were getting clear about not wanting that experience. You did not like being hurt. You did not like hurting others. And even though you always felt completely justified in your reasoning for fighting, clear preferences were being born within you. The attraction of the book you mentioned came out because of those intentions. And you read the book Sorry, okay. And you read the came out about you of those intentions. And as you read the book, it answered the questions and have been formulated within at many levels of your being. And as those answers came, a new intention was clarified and a new point of attraction was born within you. What's behind our religious and racial prejudice? Jerry, why is there prejudice? Abraham, it is often felt that there are those who do not like certain characteristics about other beings. So, in their dislike of those characteristics, they are responsible for the prejudice. We want to point out that it is not only the doing of the one who is accused of being prejudiced, more often the one who feels discriminated against is the most powerful creator in that experience. The being who feels that others do not like them for whatever reason, whether it is religion, race, gender, or social status, no matter what that reason is, that he feels that he is being discriminated against. It is his attention to the subject of the prejudice that attracts his trouble.
Do likes attract or do opposites attract? Jerry asks, Abraham, there's a statement that doesn't seem to blend with what we've heard from you. And that statement is opposites attract. That seems different from what you teach as far as like attracting like. For instance, opposites do seem to attract, like an outgoing man will marry a shy woman, or an outgoing woman will be attracted to a shy man. Abraham says, everything you see and everyone you know is offering vibrational signals, and those signals must match before attraction can take place. So, even in a situation where people seem to be different, there must be a dominant basis of vibrational similarity for them to be together. It is law. Within all people, there are vibrations of that which is wanted and vibrations of the lack of what is wanted. And everything that comes into their experience always matches the vibrations that are dominant, no exceptions. Let us introduce the word harmony. When two are exactly the same, then their intentions cannot be fulfilled. In other words, one who wants to sell does not do well to attract another seller. But the attracting of a buyer brings forth the harmony. The shy man attracts an outgoing woman because his intention is to be more outgoing. So he is actually attracting the subject of his intention. The magnetized skillet, whose essence is of iron, will attract to itself another object whose essence is of iron. That is, a bolt or a nail or another iron skillet. But it will not attract a skillet that is made of copper or aluminum. When you set your radio receiver to the frequency of 98.7 FM, you cannot pick up the signal of 6:30 AM being broadcast from a radio tower. Those frequencies must match. There is no vibrational evidence anywhere in the universe that supports the idea that opposites attract. They do not. What about when what felt good now feels bad? Jerry asks, how is it that some people seem to eventually attract something they've really, really wanted, but then when it comes, they find it turns out to be a very negative situation. It brings them pain. Abraham, often from a place that is very far from what is wanted, people will decide what they do want. But instead of focusing upon that desire and practicing the vibration of it until they have achieved vibrational alignment with their true desire, and allowing the law of attraction to then reach out into the universe and bring them perfect matching results, they become impatient and try to make it happen by jumping into action. But when they take action before they have improved the content of their vibration, what they get is something that matches their current vibration instead of something that matches their desire. Until you practice your vibration, there's often a big gap between the vibration of what you actually want and the vibration of that you are offering. However, without exception, what comes to you matches the vibration that you are offering. For example, let us say that a woman has recently come from a bad relationship where her partner has verbally and physically abused her. She did not want that or like that. In fact, she hated the life that she lived with that person. So, from her place of really knowing what she does not want, she makes a clear statement of what she does want. She wants a partner who loves her and treats her with kindness and respect. But she feels very insecure without a partner, and she wants a new partner immediately. And so she goes someplace where she is accustomed to going and meets a new person who seems nice enough. But what she may not realize is that the law of attraction is still matching her up with whatever is dominant within her. And right now, what is still dominant within her is the vibration of what she does not want, because the unwanted parts of her last relationship are much more active within her thoughts than the new intentions that have been established. In her eagerness to soothe her feelings of insecurity, she takes action and jumps into this new relationship and gets more of what is dominant within her vibration. It would be our encouragement that she takes things more slowly and spend more time thinking about what she wants until those thoughts are the basis of the dominant vibration within her. And then let the law of attraction bring her wonderful new partner to her. Whew. That was a lot. I just want to say it was like every topic. I have a suggestion, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, just because there was so much in there. What if we broke it down by question? And if we even need to continue to next week, we do each section. How do you guys feel about that? I just feel like there was so much. I don't know. That's my thought. Anyone else have a thought?
I'm good with just kind of going through and having a conversation, and if it sparks something, each question.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the very first part was, are there many different ways that we can consciously or deliberately use this law of attraction? The one thing that stood out for me in this paragraph is near the bottom of the page. It says, when you spend time with others who appreciate you, it stimulates your own thoughts of appreciation. When you spend time with those who see your flaws, then their perception of your flaws often become your point of attraction. Wow. Anyone have
This is why they say, like, who you spend your time with, you vibrate there, right?
right?
So
Yeah.
it's so important that, we maintain these circles of conversation and know when to even, like, you might be physically present, but mentally you might want to be in la la land thinking what you want to versus feeding into the emotion of, like,
Mhm.
I think what I was getting there is, like, how do you practice presence but not necessarily absorbing someone else's vibration? Do you know what I mean? And meeting it. Anna, talk and
Yeah.
then we can tell if we can hear you.
Yeah, I could hear you read. Oh, we can't hear you though. No, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rosie, that's so important. Like whenever you're spending the time with the people, and then if they're having a discussion, but you're in La La Land because you don't want to listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have other tools to kind of share even, because how do you how do you not attach to the vibration and be part of these conversations and people, right? Because, like, not everybody's conscious around us. So I think people
Exactly.
would benefit from knowing what we
That's a,
maybe try practicing to not, because everybody, like, even when it says you feel uncomfortable and you're almost like you don't want to be part of this conversation. I do get that feeling sometimes, and I'm
yeah.
just like, knowing what I know, knowing what we know, not
Mhm.
wanting to create it, but not wanting to attach to it. Yeah.
Without just
Alana, do you want
walking
to say
away.
something? I know,
Yeah,
right? So
I'm
rude.
so glad they brought that up.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really glad that he brought that up, right?
But
Um,
why, why can't we walk away?
We can.
We
we
can.
can.
We can. We just
Yeah.
may think it's rude. Can you imagine that somebody's saying something and you're just like, pivot, go?
But I
I
think
felt that though. Like I felt the need to want to do that. But I'd love to go back to Rosie, like what you said about we are the sum of the five people we spend the most time with, right? Which I think is beautiful. my question to that is, what if we all do think and say the same thing? Wouldn't we? Because here's what I thought several years ago. Wouldn't I want somebody who can say, yes, I appreciate where you're coming from. However, have you thought about this? Because then I am given an opportunity to grow and shift my perspective, right? So I actually don't like that we are the sum of the five people that we spend the most time with, because I was like, I don't want
I
people
get it.
who are going to just agree with me, right?
Not necessarily though, because like, yes, you're the sum of them, but then at the same time, it's what I mean to say when I say that is like also the level of awareness that you're at doesn't mean that
Yeah.
you're not being perpetuated to still expand in your consciousness and
Yeah.
thoughts. Like,
Yeah.
no, no, not like that. Not like, oh my God, we're the same, we're vibrating the same. No.
Right.
Like
Okay.
you bring something to the table, I bring something to the table, Lisa bring, like we all bring our individual whatever, and
Yeah.
then we still push ourselves because you come together as that unified mind and whatever intuition is feeding you. And the whole purpose of this thing even is it's called the master mind, correct? So each
Right.
one of our minds are fed differently so we can offer different points of view, not with our ego in place, but more so with soul, like alignment with source, infinite
Right. Agreed.
intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my mind goes a couple of places there. Like my mind just went blah, 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 blah. So one thing that you said, Anna, about the five people that you want to spend your time with, I think the a really good thing to think about this is like the people that you are spending your time with, are they a comfort zone and it's just very familiar, or are you
Mhm.
hanging around the people for growth and expansion? Are you giving something and are they giving something, or is it just a very mutually comfort place and familiar, like if you think
Right.
about like groups of friends that you've hung around and everybody had a great time. But I look back on my groups of friends and I've learned something from every single one of them,
Agreed.
even though I was, a lack of a better term, unconscious or aware of my capabilities or our awareness or stuff like this, right? But I see what you're saying, like you don't want to be an equal sum, but maybe it's perspective, how you look at
Yeah.
the people that you're around. What can you learn? I think everybody that comes into our life is a teacher for
Oh, for
sure.
sure. Absolutely. If we choose to see the opportunity to learn,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we
Of
could
course.
be completely unconscious and somebody share something with us. And it's the whole adage of, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Like, you hear it 15,000 times, and then the one time it hits you like square between the eyeballs, and you're like, oh my God, I've heard that before. Why didn't I ever register that? Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any one defined. So I'm reading this book, and then I'm also reading a book called The Field. And it's just so interesting how it's all the same theme, right? It's all the same conversation, just using different words. And that's exactly what we're talking about right now. It's the
I like
same conversation, just using different words. But I was sharing something with somebody yesterday, actually, that I like if I think about my pods of friends and people that I have in my space, I have amazing people in my space, like amazing people. And I'm super grateful for that. And so I would love the idea, or I would love your guys' perspective on how to amplify that, right? So, and we talk about the desire of what we want, right? So if I think about work, work is not as fun right now. It's a little bit, right? But I have all of these amazing things: husband, family, friends. Like, just if I truly think about it from head to toe, goosebumps, because I am super blessed by who I have. How do I amplify that and translate that into other things as well too?
exactly what they say in the book. Focus on what you do want from it.
Yes.
So if there's something that is not fun or whatever that you're stating in regards to work lately, what are you focused on? Are you
Yeah.
focused on the things that aren't happening, the things that are wrong, the things that are uncomfortable, the things that you don't like, the thing like, right? And so where is your focus currently?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we go back to this whole thing, because I think it's really key about how, I know that they don't talk about this, but it's really key on how we end up creating limiting beliefs. Because he says, when you spend time with those who see your flaws, then their perception of your flaws often become your point of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
So then what, like, I really caught that in there. I know that it's like not the topic. What they're talking about is that limiting beliefs, because they're talking about our point of attraction and what we're focused on. But that literally is speaking about how their focus on your flaws now become your focus of your
Right.
flaws.
You're opening yourself up to that point of attraction, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
wouldn't they also, so obviously they would have to feel something within themselves about that as well,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So really, if
Bingo.
I'm looking at you and I'm looking at a flaw that somebody here has, really there's something within me
Yeah.
that flaw resonates with. So really
Mhm.
it's within that I'm projecting out,
Yep.
Yeah. Most
right?
definitely. But I guess what we could say is, like, if you feel that at all, someone is saying something to you, you could say, do you believe that? Like, let's say someone is saying to you, criticizing you, or saying something to you about, well, you always do this. I don't know what, I can't think of something on the top of my head. Do you believe that wholeheartedly? Right? It's like, is that something that you believe that you do? Is it something that you believe you represent? Is it something that you believe who you are? Because I think we're all mirrors. It's not just one way outward and not just one way this way and right. Everything. So even though someone's recognizing a flaw in us, and that could be something that exists in them, and that's why they recognize it, there's something within us outward that we obviously are attracting that. And so it doesn't necessarily, like, remember, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. It's, what are you believing? What's your set point?
Can I give a funny example? And even of it not even manifesting the way that you think it's going to manifest, it's rather you attaching to it and lowering your vibration to then welcoming the things that you don't want even more because you're giving it an active charge. So yesterday, my two sons, they were fighting. And my little guy goes to the older one, banana, you're a banana. Okay. And I stopped and looked at my older one and I'm like, but are you a banana? And they don't register just yet. But these are the thought processes we do want to instill in them because it's like, you don't become something someone says you are by them saying it. It's when you say I am that you become it. So, and it wasn't just the charge of him being called a banana. It doesn't make him a freaking banana. But nowadays they can be identified as whatever the fuck they want to do. Excuse my French. That's a topic for another day. But it offered him a lower frequency because he got frustrated. So now your field is revealing to you all the things that bring you frustration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And do you know what I think of right there is that because he was so frustrated, maybe, that the little one said, you're a banana, and he was like, I'm not a banana, I'm not a banana. Where was his focus?
Yep.
Mhm.
The idea and thought of being the banana. So, right, if like someone's saying you're ungrateful, someone's saying that you're hateful, someone's saying that you're guilty, someone's saying, where's your focus? And then when are you allowing it to become your point of attraction? Where
Yep.
did you adopt their belief? And so, yeah, I mean, I guess that's the part of, like, where the awareness kicks in, because you get to decide, you get to choose in that moment. If someone is saying something about you, that's great, that's yours, but I don't
Mhm.
need that.
Yep. Agreed.
That's so
One of the things I talk about with my clients too is, like, when we see something outside of us, it's because we're on that same level of frequency. So going back to the radio, it's like when I
Yep.
see, I see this negative experience going on, it's because I'm at that level of vibration. I'm on that frequency. So that just means I need to adjust my frequency.
Mhm.
That, I need to get involved with that idea. I just need to adjust where I'm at. I'm currently set to this point at 95.1 FM. I need to readjust my frequency. So I'm not, and then, because if, again, going back to the story about watching what you're watching on TV and they're seeing it all over the place. Well, the person that's not bringing that into their awareness or their experience aren't even watching the broadcast because they're on a different
Right.
vibration or frequency.
yeah, yeah.
I had that conversation with my dad the other day because I was over there and I haven't watched the news and oh my gosh, it's been like 14 or 15 years. I just refuse to turn it on. And he's like, well, I need to know what's going on. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because it's what's going on. I'm like, do you know that's what's going on? And he was like, well, they're saying that's what's going on. I'm like, but were you there? Did you actually witness it? I'm like, so what? It's their perception being repeated. And he's like, but I need to know. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, it just, unless I hear somebody or I'm physically in somebody's presence, and then we go back to they're just reflecting of the vibration of where I'm currently on. I, I will not say, I know this person, this situation, whatever the case may be. So, which sometimes I'm a little hesitant to say because anyway, I'm a little hesitant to say it sometimes, right? Because my experiences are different and my life has been different. But that is one thing, like, and I've told people like I don't watch the news. I refuse to watch the news. I refuse to turn the dial to that station and then be like wonder why I'm mad all the time. I'm like, well, if all you get fed is that, then why would you be anything different?
So let's go to that part then while we're there. So it's talking about seeing newscasts or whatever you see, hijacking and plane, terrorists, all that stuff, worldwide events. Is that brought on by the same process? And Abraham says attention to any subject amplifies it because of the attention to it. So what's really interesting here is that he says there are so many different intentions and combinations of intentions that it's very difficult for us to point out in general how one would bring it about. Certainly, those newscasts add up to those situations. For as more and more people are focused upon what they are not wanting, right? So we talk about war and we talk about we don't want it, we don't want a war, but the war is still being talked about. And I used to think about this in the way of bullying when they talked about bullying in schools. And I was like, stop talking about it. Why don't we talk about, like, literally change the language and say we love each other? Like, we don't need to keep the verb and the action of and the object and subject of bullying in a conversation. Like, just let it go. And it's really the same thing. It's like, how can we bring more love to the world, not how can we stop the war? Right.
There's also a space, I'm not sure where he talked about it, but he also mentioned that you can watch something, but when it becomes extremely based on when it affects your vibration is when you emotionally attach to that thing.
Yes.
So you can watch the news and choose to look at it for information and say, okay, so I'm looking at it for information. Hold on one moment. I'll be right there. Oh, you leaving? Did you get someone to sign your thing?
On Friday, because
Okay.
talking about my phone just
Perfect. I'm still in my meeting, so yeah, perfect. I'll see you on Friday. Thank you. Sorry about that. So they were saying like you can watch the news, and if you use it just as information, don't let it get you emotionally charged, and then you maybe go search to see, well, what's the truth about that thing, and then also search for the good in that thing. Then it's a completely different vibration. But it's choosing how you choose to use that information or use that event.
Yeah. Or ask if you want it to affect you. Like, how are you letting it affect you? Right? Are you letting it get you emotionally charged? Are you letting it be something that you're guided by during the day? Like, it's how it's Rosie and I had this conversation the other day. It's like, how are you letting it electrically charge you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's
well, it's coming out of a perspective of like talking about the solution rather than the problem. Like we can sit here and we can talk about the problem day in and day out all the time, and it's like having a scab and then continuously picking at it and continuously picking at it, and then you're wondering why it's never going to heal. Or instead, well, let's just figure out what the solution is, right? So we recognize there's a problem, but let's have the next conversations all talk about the solution versus keep going back to saying, hey, here's the problem. So we've identified the problem. This is the problem. Here's the problem. There's like, and you're just like, okay, we got that. What's the solution? How do we move forward?
I love that. Even when you just said that in it, it says, is it important to go back and find out why it is happening? It's almost like that scab analogy, like you're peeling it to see why it happened, preventing it from healing. Where rather, if you looked for resources of like from a love perspective and a healing perspective, what
Mm-hmm.
can I give it out of service to heal it?
Yep.
Will then get rid of it. And then that's it, it's gone. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Viewing
that's
it from the
so
past,
good.
viewing it from the past. But if you look at why did it happen, that's the past.
Yeah,
If you
you're
look
just
at the
creating it
present and
over
stay
and
in the
over again.
moment,
Yeah.
exactly. You stay in the present
Yeah.
moment is what do I want to shift or how do I want to heal it?
Yeah.
Then you're in the
E-
present.
Even the language around it, like history. Our language is so tweaked. So history,
Mm-hmm.
if you break it up, it says his story. You're taking on something
Yep.
and continually recreating it by focusing your attention on it. That's the whole point of the indoctrinated system. But anyways.
Well, and
I
it's going back to like even when it said earlier of, we get to choose the experience. So it's okay, so how can we instead of, focusing on the problem and start focusing on the solution, but it's like again going back to the media or whatever, and electrifying yourself to that situation or aligning yourself with that idea or emotionally connecting to it. You're emotionally instead of watching it and like you said, Rosie, of like focusing on it, but looking at it and going, okay, that's not what I want in my experience. That's exactly what Abraham shares later is like, what do I want?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
yeah. This is probably a really strange analogy and metaphor, but I want to go back to the scab because this is really, really neat. So, what's the one thing that annoys us of that thing? Like we have this scab in our hand. She has to sign off. Okay, bye, Rosie. I didn't see that. So we have this scab, and then all of a sudden, what happens? We are annoyed because of an itch.
Mm-hmm.
But if we just offer a different perspective and we say, oh yeah, have this thing, it's healing, instead of
Yep.
getting annoyed with the itch and like we start scratching, we're getting annoyed and like it's aggravation, right?
Yep.
So like when things happen in our life, if we think of like a negatively charged emotion, it's annoying, it's like an itch. But right away, if you can offer yourself a different perspective in the situation of the emotion, how can you, and I don't want to say disregard, but in the initial, I believe in the very moment, okay, bye Alana, in the very moment of that like negative feeling, if you could offer and ask yourself in that moment, what different perspective can I have here right now?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, because just because we give it a thought, like just, yeah, it's a fact we have a scab, but we can still give a different perspective and we can say,
Absolutely.
with that little itches there, we can say it's healing. The,
Yep.
the cells are moving, it's healing, right. But we
Yeah.
think itch, we think annoying, we think something needs to be done immediately. We scratch, we have this automatic response. But if you just take a second, so same thing in your life, if you have this negatively charged emotion, you just, what is the perspective that I can offer here? Which is exactly what they said. It's like instead of focusing on what you do not want, what brought forward the negative emotion, focus on what you do want in that scenario. And that there is enough just to change someone's feeling or perspective or even the result that they'll get because they're changing their focus.
Well, it's all a choice, right? So every single moment of every single day, we have a choice of how we are going to feel. And at the end of the day, it's all about our energy and the feeling, right? And so if we have this situation, then I think of it like and I think I learned this during Kathleen, but like you're at a precipice, right? And so you can either go this way or this way. And one is you feel good and one is you feel bad. And so you can change that And I think I used to think that, oh, it would take time, right? I have to build this. And they talk about the bridge of like bridging something over, right? If you can't feel it right away. But we could also choose, be like, it's healing, right? I can just choose to say it's healing and be done with it and move forward.
Yeah. 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 So good. Yeah.
So good.
Ooh, this was a lot. So I guess well, for me anyways, I feel like it was like, no, wait, you're going on that subject. I haven't even like absorbed that first
Right.
yet. I don't know. But I guess we can chat on in our chat like next session if we want to continue this chat, because there was so much that we never even talked on yet. The bridge, which you just brought up now, which I think
Mhm.
like it was so great that you could walk yourself through like all the feelings of those things about like flu season upon us. It's like,
Yep.
wow, is like just that breakdown of it, of like how to move yourself into attracting what you want, which is health, right? Yeah, that was so good. This was really great today, ladies.